Hi class, welcome back to my channel. Again, my name is your professor, Miss Mariana Celine Angalwan, or Miss Celine from Trinity University of Asia, and now we are going to have a new lesson here in developmental psychology. So right now, we are going to talk about preschool age, but for this one, I'll be dividing the lesson in two parts. So in our previous lesson, we were able to discuss everything about infancy. So right now, we are going to talk about preschool age. Alright, so here are the following contents of this presentation. So first, we're going to talk about the hallmarks, which are the important points in the life of a preschooler. And then, of course, we're going to talk about the introduction, the motor, the physical development, the child development in the following theories. We have the psychosexual, psychosocial, cognitive, and moral, and then also the cognitive development. And then we are going to discuss about the socio-emotional development. That includes the emotional development, communication, and also play. And lastly, we are going to discuss about the moral development. Alright, now let's start. Let's start first with the hallmarks. When I say hallmarks, it means these are these important parts that we should look out whenever a child is developing, specifically during the preschool age. So now let's go first to the first one. So the first one is the child learns the basic skills of functional individual. So what are these basic skills? So they are now learning how to hold a spoon. They now started to actually have a functional or a very stable walking, and also they now recognize simple things that are important in living. So those are the basic skills. Now let's go on the next one, which is the rapid development of functional language skills, which in here, if in infancy there's a rapid development in the physical aspect, while in the preschool years there's a rapid development in the language. So in here they are now talking, specifically between the ages 2 to 5 years old. They are now started to talk 50 to 100 words to 2,000 words. So, and then they also have improved gross motor coordination. So what does motor or gross motor coordination mean? So gross motor coordination, these are huge motor movements that are evident and are needed a lot of energy or a lot of effort from the child. So like walking, or and then running, walking, or yes, walking is one thing, or playing in a where it requires a lot of energy with it. So in here, children learns to walk away and come back to the secure adult or parent. So in here, the preschooler should know how to walk and also understand that where to come back. So they are not just walking endlessly. They are walking and they know when or whom to come back. Next is the basic fine motor skills, wherein it's now getting refined, because in here they are now they now know how to pick up things, manipulate small things as well, and also eat by themselves. So they are now starting to to eat, maybe to start using their hands, pick up the spoon and then put it inside their mouth. So those are basic fine motor skills. So they are also now starting to do that. Refine that rather. And also, they are now starting to be knowledgeable. In here, they are now starting to get information from the environment and actually start to process it one by one. So in here, they are now understanding what shapes are, colors, and also doing the same, doing social skills like saying hi, hello, please, thank you, and many more. So also, during this stage, like what I've mentioned a while ago, in preschool stage, in here, a lot of learning from the environment is being done. So in here, that's why there are new skills and accomplishments are also being processed by the preschooler. In here, they are now being mindful of the constraints imposed on them by the adults and their own limited abilities. So let me just read on the two bullet points in here. So they usually accompanied by emotional reactivity as children strive to gain increasing self-control. In here, so they are now trying to strive and to have a control of themselves. They are trying now to be independent in some way. And then exploration of emotional separation, alternating between stubborn opposition and cheerful compliance, between bold exploration and clinging dependence. So in here, the separation to the mother or the caregiver are now being evident, and also returning back to their caregivers are also evident. So the ambivalence or the struggle of whether they are going to be independent or dependent is also can be seen in here. So these skills are necessary to achieve a measure of functional autonomy or independence with respect of eating, drinking, playing, toileting, dressing, and getting along with others. So like what I've mentioned a while ago, in here, the autonomy, which is being independent or being dependent, is being seen in the preschooler. And then also they have the ability to adapt to new roles and relationships as well. Alright, to continue, there are stages that coincide with this age group. So first, we are going to talk about Freud, which is in the psychosexual theory, Erikson, which is in the psychosocial, and also Piaget, which is in the cognitive. So in this slides, we are going to talk about the preschooler age, which actually talks about the toddler and the preschool in here. Remember, in our first lesson, which is infancy, we have the at least first 2 years of life, and here that's actually second to third year of life, and also third year to fifth year of life. So now let's go first with Freud. Again, with Freud, we have at least 5 stages. We have the oral, which is part of the infancy, and then anal, and also phallic, which is part of this presentation, which is under preschooler. And then we also have latency and also genitals. So in the psychosexual development of Freud, in here we are actually on the anal and the phallic stage. So in my other videos, if you've watched it, I have actually a separate video about Freud. If you're interested to watch that and learn more about his theory, I actually discussed that. But since we are now in the developmental psychology, let me just give you just a brief background on it. Again, we have 5 stages of psychosexual development. So oral is already done, that's in the infancy. So we also have anal in here. This stage actually focuses on the anus per se. Okay, the anus. So it means all of the bowel movements, about the poop, about anything about germs, are the erogenous zone. So in here it means that if in infancy the point of gratification is oral, in here it is the anus, or in simple terms it is, well, we are Filipinos, so let's put some point. So fortunately that's how it called. So it's the anal. That's why it's called the anal stage, because now we are actually just focusing on the anus. Now we have the phallic stage. The phallic stage actually focuses on the erogenous zone, which is the genitals. What are the genitals? Genitals are either the penis or the vagina. So in here, the erogenous zones are focusing on, if the child is a female, of course, she will be focusing on her vagina, and if the child is a male, he is gonna focus on his penis. So that's according to Freud. Now let's go to the psychosocial stages of development, which is from Erik Erikson. Erik Erikson believes that this is the part where autonomy versus shame and doubt is being developed. So I've already mentioned this a while ago. So if the child was able to be independent throughout the learning stage in the preschool, he will develop autonomy, which is believing in oneself that you can do it, and also being independent on yourself. So there's actually autonomy. Shame and doubt when a child wasn't able to have that independence. If the parents or the caregiver of the child actually limits or restricts the child to do whatever he or she wants, the child now develops the sense of dependence to his or her caregiver. So that's what this stage is all about. Okay, so that's autonomy versus shame and doubt. And then on the 3rd to 5th year, which is preschool, the child will now develop initiative versus guilt. So initiative in here, the initiative of the child to do things on their own, or they are feeling guilty of doing things, whether they want to do it or not. And then on the next one, we have the cognitive, which is in Piaget. So we have here the sensory motor, which is also familiar because this was mentioned during the infancy stage. So the sensory motor in here is also is processing things cognitively, and cognitively by the use of the senses, of our senses and our motor movements. And then we also have the pre-operational. In here, you're actually processing things now and having a part of it. So we are actually just processing it, your cognitive, pre-operationally. Alright, to continue, the preschool years encompasses, in here it encompasses on the social sphere, wherein they are now widening their social atmosphere. It means that they are now starting to have friends and also recognize the people around in the family. And then also, they are now increasing in the use of their words, like what I've mentioned a while ago. So their language are now growing, and they are now learning a lot more languages. And because of that, of course, when the use of language is there, the development of knowledge is also there. So they are now here starting to do a lot of things and explore a lot of things, and with that, they are now learning a new language. So that's why during this age, the parents are now giving them a lot of stuff. So they are now learning here ABCs at a very young age, and also they were able to sing songs or also draw, and which is very which looks like a very gifted child. But however, that's actually one of the hallmarks in preschool years is that they were able to learn a lot during this age. So if you're a parent and you wanted to have a gifted child, this is the best years of their life where they can actually learn a lot. So this is because the rapid development of knowledge is evident in here. Also, because of a lot of stimulus in the environment for them to learn, this method may cause the child to lose interest or may overwhelm the child. So because of it, the child can get stressed and also got tantrums if that occurs. So in here, it suggests that you introduce one thing at a time, so they will able to process their knowledge or process it one by one. So in here, the challenge of self-regulation is also acknowledged or is very important, because in here they will now recognize what are their capacities and also what are their limits at the same time. So in here, children are becoming more aware of their environment, so they tend to wonder more and develop their sense of curiosity, often placing them in slightly dangerous situations, knowing of the consequences of their actions, such as climbing our fences and many more. So in here, they now look at their surroundings. They now know how to process things. However, it doesn't mean that they already know the consequences. So that's why a lot of children during this preschool age tend to have accidents, because they wanted to explore their environment and not knowing the consequences whenever they do something. So motor development in here, it is cephalocaudal. So I've mentioned this in the infancy before, that cephalocaudal is wherein it starts everything in the development starts first with the brain down to the limbs, and that same thing with the motor movements as well. So development from gross motor skills to refined skills is more prominent. So from getting the ball to throwing the ball in a certain direction, that's how it goes. So it starts with a very large movement first to the very tiniest movement, a very fine movement occurs. So that's cephalocodal, and that's one of the things that can be seen in here. And also it's more on the refinement, so something that they can do and they can actually do it sort of properly. So like for example, holding a pen and actually start drawing it with something. So that's cephalocodal. In here, they are now also learn how some complex skills, like for example, writing letter A's in a specific direction and how to write it correctly. So in here, let's understand that their attention span is very little. So for a 3 years old, their attention span actually just lasts for 3 minutes. So let's just remember that their attention span, they're 3 years old, their attention span is only 3 minutes. Let's go to the gross motor skills. So the gross motor skills is between 1 to 5 years old. And in here, the gross motor skill is 1 to 5 years old, wherein they're now learning how to be independent in playing. So this is the time where they actually started to run towards something and recognize how to actually play independently. For the fine motor skills, again, a while ago we had gross motor skills. Again, gross motor skills, these are skills that are very evident. These are very huge. That's why it's very evident. In fine motor skills in here, these are movements or motor skills that can be done only by fine movements, wherein little efforts should be given to do something that is right. Like for example, just drawing, holding a pen, and many more. So like in this example, so holding utensils, adjusting, stacking blocks, pencils and paper tasks, drawing a picture, use of scissors. So skills are necessary for preschool craft activities and the precursor of handwriting activities. So that's fine motor skills. So again, in gross motor skills, in here, they learn how to independently play by themselves. In fine motor skills in here, they were able to do things like holding the utensils, undressing, and many more in here. That's what they develop. In the physical development in here, let's remember that the somatic and brain growth now in here started to slow down at the end of the second year. And also their nutritional requirements and appetite also decreases. This is the time when the children or the preschooler now tends to be picky on what they eat. So some of them now prefers to have candy instead of having a nutritious food. And also their walk is now being mature on the end of the third year. Their gait, their posture, and also the way they run actually changes on the third year. And also during the preschool year, the wide range of their motoric activities like throwing, catching, kicking balls, riding bikes and climbing are now showing in here. Other things that are very important in the physical development are the handedness. So in here on the third year, you will now know if the child is a right-handed or a left-handed. And then bedwetting is normal for 4 years if that's a girl and 5 years old if that's a boy. So that's bedwetting. So it means that they are still peeing. So that's 4 or 5. And then bowel and bladder control. In here, it actually started to emerge at the age of 30 months, only at 30 months. And also, there, like what I've mentioned a while ago, there are decrease in appetite, so they are now tend to be picky. So let's go to the child development theories. Let's go to it one by one. Alright, so the first one, again, we've discussed this a while ago. We have Freud. Again, in early childhood years, that's anal stage, which is the focus of is the anus. And we have the preschool stage, which is the focus is the phallic stage. So let's go to the early childhood years. For the early childhood years, again, our focus is the anal stage. In here, everything about the anus is the erogenous zone. So in here, in here, toilet training is very important because this is the ones, or this is the stage where actually they release their stools properly and timely. So this is very important, and this is also the erogenous zone. So instead of the mouth, which is in the oral in the infancy, now it converts, or now it goes, the focus now is on the anus. Now on the phallic stage, which is on the preschool years when they are now going to school, the phallic stage, or the phallic actually focuses on the genitals of the child. So in here, the child exhibits ambivalence towards his parents, plus curiosity and exhibitionism. So in here, they now have this desire. If they're a boy, they have this desire to their mother, and if that's a girl, they have this desire to their father. So if the boy has a desire for his mother, that's Oedipus complex, and if the girl has a desire for his father, that's Electra complex. So this is what happens during the preschool stage and also in the phallic stage, according to Freud. So there's a lot of topics to be talked about on the phallic and also in the anal stage, but that can be discussed during the theories of personality. But right now, our focus again is developmental psychology. So now let's go to psychosocial in Erik Erikson. The psychosocial stages of Erik Erikson now focuses on the autonomy versus shame and doubt, and then also initiative versus guilt. So in here, as you can see, there are two stages in each theories because actually preschool stage actually varies from stages of depending on whose theories. But right now, let's focus on the psychosocial of Erik Erikson. So in here, the child now develops an awareness of his own will. So if he believes that if the parents let their children do whatever they want, they will now develop autonomy. However, if they are restrictive, they will have shame and doubt because they, of course, will now be dependent on their parents, and they would be shameful if they will do it on their own. And then we have initiative versus guilt. So in here, if they have this capability because they were allowed by their parents to actually explore their environment, so they would now have this initiative to do things on their own. However, if their parents again is someone who is restrictive of them, they will now have a feeling of guilt if I'm doing it wrong, and many more. So let me just read on the bullet point in here under the initiative versus guilt in the preschool years. Exploring worlds in which to task himself to initiate, explore, and exert himself with resentment and rebellion. So again, that's whenever a parent is restrictive, he or the child will develop guilt. If it's permissive, the parent is permissive, they will develop initiative. And then we have here cognitive theory by Piaget. So right now, I've already mentioned this a while ago. So their cognitive behavior or cognitive development now focuses on the pre-operational thought period, wherein egocentricity is being developed and symbolism, language, play, and personality are also being developed. So now let's talk about first in egocentricity. The egocentricity focuses, wherein the child focuses, everything is about himself. So he believes that everything around the environment is about himself. It's like having a movie and he is the actor, the main actor. And also in here, the child also now develops a sense of symbolism and the use of language again, play, and also personality. So these are just the most important in the cognitive, in the pre-operational. And then lastly, we have the moral development by Kohlberg. So the first, in the early childhood years, Might is right. And then also in the preschool years, naive instrumental hedonism. So in here, let me just read on the preschool years in naive instrumental hedonism. Children account for individual points of view and judge actions based on how they serve individual needs. Reciprocity is possible at this point in moral development, but only if it serves one's own interests. Learning self-control and learning to share. So in here, everything that is naive, it's actually more on the cognitive as well, but in here you're focusing on the moral aspect, wherein egocentrism also plays a role in here, but everything that is moral is part of your if it's good for you, that's moral already. So that's what is naive instrumental hedonism is all about. So that's it. So thank you for listening. If you have any questions, please let me know at the comment section down below. I hope this lesson is clear, and we will have another part for this one in the next presentation. So thank you and see you then. Bye.